With two dominant forces standing tall in the iRacing Short Course National Series presented by Next Level Racing, we make our way to the rolling hills of Michigan. A doubleheader awaits and two rather interesting tracks, but here at Bark River, it's sure to be full of excitement. Will it be Luke Knupp? Will it be Connor Barry taking one step closer to a championship? You'll have to find out here on RaceSpotTV on the iRacing Short Course channels. Our junior Kanky party joined alongside by the voice of off-road, Dave Arnold. And Dave, I must say, a week ago we saw plenty of excitement. This time out, we get a double dose of it, and I can't wait to get started.
Oh man, last week did not disappoint. So excited coming in here into Bark River. A fast track, totally different. We don't have the high gains of, altitude out there, and it's not as high speed, but we got some fast sections definitely for here, and it always makes for interesting racing here in Bark River.
And I've seen a photo finish here on more than one occasion, so I'm just setting the expectations high. That's what I want to see from the drivers. This, though, the look at the schedule officially now more than halfway through. Wild West saw Luke Knupp grab the victory, of course, as well, and so, we're talking 3 victories apiece between Connor Barry and Luke Knupp heading into these final 4 rounds, and of course, one more Triple Crown race still left to come. What an interesting format and a mix up in terms of the driving that these drivers have got to contend with. But as we get ready for today, let's talk about the format, Dave, because heat race is about to get underway. 3 of those with 4 drivers advancing and hoping not to head into a mad scramble of an LCQ to make it to the main event.
Yeah, it's definitely going to mix it up there. 18 trucks, still going to be the main event, so there's going to be a lot of trucks out there, but you got to race your way in once again, and unfortunately, only 18 trucks are going to fit on the track. Some people are going to be watching on the sidelines. Well, hopefully they got their game together tonight.
And, points, you build them up over the course of the event itself every single week, but pole position 5 points pales in comparison to the 50 points that you win in the main event, and 2 points per position. Let's talk about how close it sits right now at the top of the championship standings, because remarkably, this unfortunately not quite updated, not sure why, but Dave, I was looking at the points slightly earlier. It was 7 points or something between the top 2.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Luke Knupp and Connor Barry battling it out there. Of course, Luke, a former champion, Connor, defending champion right now. But I'm still waiting for Keaton Swain to keep on swinging out there. He's had a good finish. He's been real consistent out there. But Luke Knupp, he's going to be fighting with Connor for sure.
You highlighted as well one thing that I really find interesting, right? We've come from one of the shortest tracks, headed over to one of the longest tracks, but that's not the only thing that is really a deciding factor. You take a look from up above at this wonderful facility. It's fast, it's flowing, and Dave, it's wide open, very different to what lies in store of us right now.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, it's very similar to a lot of the short course tracks. We're going to have one right-hander, a lot of left-handers there. So you can see those fast sections where it goes out, especially that turn 2 and 3. Those guys are going to be battling into that turn. We should see some good passes, but it gets tight once you get into turn 8, turn 9, and turn 10. And that's where you're going to have that close quarter. It's going to be single file through there.
And I love this track, like I mentioned, for the close finishes that we've seen here, but also because it requires the drivers to really understand where to find the grip, where to push the car at all times. And that's really a testament as the track continues to evolve as to where the drivers really make their skill. We'll take a proper look at the points as they sit right now, because, like I was saying, very, very close at the top. And not just for first and second by any means, Dave. Dane Culver, Zachary Drapkin fighting for 3rd and 4th positions, and all being hunted down by Keaton Swain himself.
Yeah, it's crazy. 6 points right there, but Keaton Swain, Trent Briley's back a little bit there, but Keaton Swain's not out of this. Zach Drapkin, he actually moved up a couple there in the points. He's still got Keaton by a few, but still waiting to see what Trenton and Nicholas Dachelet are going to be, fighting there a little bit back in the pack.
I'm curious to see how the power rankings will play out. I was taking a look at that on social media. Really interesting concept, but plenty of factory sim sport there. Luke Knupp ranked as number 1, Connor Barry number 2. Momentum going to be key, Dave, as qualifying gets underway and drivers get the track to themselves, and 4 laps to get the most from the facility.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy with the power rankings. You're looking at the points there. Connor Barry, the point leader. Luke back a little bit, but Luke has the ranking. That's what's going to be interesting there. Definitely has it in his favor. We still got a little over 8.5 minutes to go here for qualifying. And we can see, like you said, 1 truck at a time. We see Keaton Swain, the 21 on the track now.
And no times yet on the board. Going to be interesting how much of the outside that they'll use through the final sector here, because sometimes you do see trucks almost basically on their side. So much commitment through that section. The run to the line, though, big airtime there for Keaton Swain, but it's going to be a 1:10.370. Going to be interesting to see where it stacks up to the rest of the pack. 59,000 slower than Nicholas Dachelet first time by.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Of course, the lines we're watching now sometimes a little bit different, of course, during race time when other vehicles are on the track right now. So the best time to find your fast line, if you're out front, these are the fast lines to run a fast qualifying lap.
I have already seen a bit of a split. Half the field electing to sort of come in immediately and reset for another lap. We saw there Vanderveer electing to continue running around. As we check in with Brock Smith, 13 times on the board already, a full second splitting them, and this being one of those longer laps, being a bit more technical, we'll see a bit more difference, and that's why the close margins between effectively seconds through sixth position, where we're talking mere hundreds and thousandths through them, quite remarkable to see. Here comes the 46, bucking his way to the line. 1:11.430 will slot him in. Just wait to see it pop up on the left. In fact, time doesn't count, so somehow he's found his way to hit a wall or something, Dave, and invalidate the lap time.
Oh, that's just tough when that happens. I mean, you feel like you're in the groove, and all of a sudden you just get that monkey wrench thrown right into your program.
More improvements, but seeing the trucks work their way through. Paul Mikolajczyk to 15th position. Luke Knupp still waiting in pit lane to go out once again. So the advantage of having 6 and a bit minutes here, Dave, is you can watch and see what your competitors are doing and see where they're gaining time.
Yeah, that's a good, what you just brought up is real important. Watch where they're going. Watch where those quick lines are. Look where they're getting into trouble and losing their time. You can really tell when the truck starts to step out and you're spinning tires. You got to stay in that traction zone.
There's a look at Connor Barry racing his way quite interestingly on the grass there for a second through the final couple of corners. So when we talk about the drivers ramping off, I think this seems to be a bit of a setup lap. I'm not imagining that this is going to be an improvement, although that's sometimes the mark of the best. It looks calm, it looks cool, and it is an improvement, and I think Connor's quite happy with it. It will see him jump up, although he may have invalidated that one in the final sector.
Oh, man, that's just rough when that happens. And you just talked about it earlier, he hit the wall, took his line away, or took his time right away, so it just invalidates it.
And it's not something often that we think about, but finding those limits must be quite important. Here comes Matthew Lindy in the KS Industries 333, down in 11th right now, and about 6/10 looking to find as he makes his way across the line in the air. It's a 1:10.412 for him, jumps him up to 5th, and he's still got one more lap to go as he heads in through the opening couple of corners.
Well, I'm watching Matthew there. He looks like he's having a good time. Saw a little bit of a smile there. He's into it, but like seeing all those trophies back there. He's pretty proud of those.
And he's someone that we've seen on RaceSpot in rallycross cars as well make a bit of a storm. I wonder how much of a crossover there really is in skills, because they're both four-wheel drive machines, but very different in terms of car dynamics. Keaton Swain, final lap in qualifying, jumps up to second.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because, we've had Travis Pastrana and Tanner Faust both, do a lot of, rally racing. They do well, but the guys that run the short course, it just shows it's a whole nother level. But let me just tell you, an average person going from something else, if you didn't have those rally skills, you'd probably kill yourself in a truck.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever want to be unleashed in one of these machines. You can leave me in the sim and maybe put me in virtual reality as well, because that's probably the safest way to experience it. Sean Winkler can probably also sell you a house with a spare room for your motion sim rig so that you don't get in trouble with your significant other. Now, he's only about 4/10 off in pole, and I think he's got a chance of actually making some time up here as he heads through the final couple of corners.
What I find interesting, he's got one of Connor Barry's shirts on. Is he trying to channel his inner Connor Barry right now? Find that fast time? He's got to have some secret out there, Connor does.
There's something about some of these drivers in the sim world where they just find the speed, and I don't blame him for that. I'm currently wearing a hoodie from another esports sim racing team, just in the hope that it'll give me a little bit of speed. You mentioned where we maybe see Nicholas Dachelet. Well, right now he's in 3rd position, one of a few cars still left with an attempt in qualifying. We watch him on track right now, but Dave, I can also tell you, Luke Knupp has just rolled back onto the track. Remember, he's got a couple of laps still left to spare, even already out front.
Yeah, that 110.137 is pretty quick out there. Looking at Jake Raffis talking about rally drivers, he definitely translates well into this for sure. But, these times are still really close. I mean, we're talking thousands off, hundreds off, tenths off, just separating these drivers.
Luke Knupp on the bottom of your screen, getting ready for another timed attempt. Tyson Miller has just jumped up to third. What a lap that is from him in his number 90 machine. But just watch the lines, watch the precision. Luke Knupp with a rare mistake, and that lap time going to be done and dusted. The benefit is he's still got a couple more attempts left to go. Dashley, though, very sideways as he powers back towards the line. Remember, he's got a 1:10.310 to beat. He finds a 600ths or so to shave off that time, reinserts himself up to third. But I think that might be him done for the session.
Yeah, Tyson Miller's got a good time there also. Jacob Rassif and Matthew Lindy. Connor Barry, he's still got some laps, though. Connor's kept his laps going. Here comes Crystal King. Keep an eye on her. She's been very quick.
Is that an improvement?
Ooh,
it is to sixth position, and that's a good jump, especially knowing that we have 3 heats. So, Dave, that's going to slot her into second on the start of heat number 3.
That's not too shabby for sure. And that's, you talk about, we usually see the guys and gals that are up front in the qualifying that get into the heat races. You got a better chance when you're in the top 4. You're in that first 2 rows, you're going to see improvement there. There was a good shot there, Dane Culver.
And frustrated.
Not looking too happy. Yeah.
He's, I think, just invalidated Davis' final attempt in the qualifying session. And so a driver that came into this round third in points starts down in 13th position. That's going to be frustrating for him.
Yeah, there's a lot, we should have probably explained some of the ways that they can invalidate their runs. Like you said, cutting the course is one, hitting the walls in another section. It's just not driving within the confines of the track. They're looking at ways that, okay, if you cut that, there's a 1/10 of a second. You're out.
And there are some series that I get to commentate on where they, for example, the Porsche Esports Super Cup, top level of road racing on iRacing, Dave, they get 1 attempt in qualifying, and we're talking about margins sometimes, 3/10, 4/10 through the field, and sometimes, a driver just invalidates a lap because they're pushing that little bit too hard through the final corner, and a lap that would see them at the front of the field drops them to the back. It's frustrating, but when you get a couple of laps, it allows you to build up your qualifying session in some ways. That first lap, you can go a bit slower, a bit safer, and then ramp up the speed.
Yeah, and you're looking for, okay, I took that corner a little too hot coming on, in lap 2, 3, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious through this turn and get a faster exit speed. So there's a lot of stuff going through their heads as they're putting these laps down.
And for Luke Knupp, I think one thing surely going through his mind is the fact that here in qualifying, there are a handful of points up for grabs as well, and it's a close battle at the top of the championship. He's already got pole position to his name. Can he really make a bit of a statement, power out of those final couple of corners, and go even further in front in that Splash and Go Graphics Team Gold number 5? It's been 2 dominant forces again here in the iRacing National Short Course Series. And it's by 0.5 of a second that there's no improvement, but he just had to go and try, Dave.
Yeah, you have to throw it down, man. You just can't just sit back and go, hey, man, I think I could do better every time. I'll tell you what, though, we're not going to miss that car on the track. That thing definitely pops.
It's definitely a little bit distinctive, and love the work, once again, of Splash and Go Graphics. You've got plenty of time to go racing, by the way, because in each of these heats, there's a quick grid process where the drivers are quickly checked to make sure they are all ready to go. It gives us time to wind our way down trackside and get ready to go for what's going to be a fascinating, well, one of 3 heats. Luke Knupp at the front alongside Tyson Miller, and then Matthew Lindy, Sean Winkler, Dane Culver, and Dennis Mickelson through your front 3 rows. And remember, there are only 4 drivers that will advance directly from each of the heats. Paul Mikolajczyk, Brock Smith, and then Dennis Crosby at the back of the 9-truck field as they get ready to roll for, again, what should be an interesting 4 laps of racing. And one thing that I thought was quite funny when I was looking at the format changes from last week is that, Dave, we actually had a reduction in lap count when we went to the LCQs, right? We had 6 for the heats at Wild West and 4 for the LCQs. Here, both the heats, both the LCQs, 4 laps in length, so I'm expecting similar amounts of chaos in each.
Yeah, and I think we do have 1 less heat, and that's going to give a little bit more time, I think, for the LCQs, which I know the guys are going to go to the and gals are going to go to the LCQ are going, thank you so much. I knew that. Sometimes you just need that 1 more lap. You can get that position.
a stock championship as well, with qualifying in the books. Now, it's not a true representation because already Luke Knupp will be classified with a couple of points. In fact, that has gone all sorts of wrong, so we'll ignore that as that sits. But we'll be able to talk about that. 5 points already gone the way, though, of Knupp through qualifying. 2 points for a heat win. Every point's going to matter here, Dave. He's going to want to fight from the front and make sure he leads come the checkered flag.
Now, I believe if he, with that qualifying run, and if he wins this heat, he could tie Connor Barry at that point. But Connor still has to run his heat race, too.
Yes, that is how I think the math should be worked out. But I wonder if, as well, if the drop rounds just on our live points calculation getting a little bit thrown out of whack this early in the course of the running. They're sent off and away, and one important point to note, Pace truck's going to pull off. Field going to be left in control of Luke Knupp, but we'll have to wait a couple of corners before we fire the machines. There's a specific starting zone that they've been told to start within. Knupp will have control of the field, and then through turn number 1, Dave, they'll launch the trucks into the air. It's an interesting starting sequence, but Knupp going to have the ability to control into the opening corner.
Yeah, that's a tough position. He's like, okay, do I just nail it, or I kind of wait until the last minute and hit it? There's a lot of psychological warfare going on with these drivers.
This will be where, when we get to the main event and our competition caution, the trucks will restart. When we have these initial restarts, or initial starts, it will be winding around and getting ready to go. Looking off the suspension shot of Sean Winkler. One of the great things about the world of sim racing, Dave, is that we can place these cameras in places you may not traditionally be able to place them.
Yeah, you can see the CV, the axle there. You can see the A-arms. You can see the spring. And what's cool, you can see the top of the cylinders of the reservoirs for the shocks, too. I mean, they have taken every detail into effect.
And if we get trucks colliding with one another, we'll be able to go inside and take a close look as well. But here we go, off and away for another round of the iRacing National Short Course Series from the rolling hills of Michigan. Luke Knupp through turn number 1 sees the rest of the field scampering out wide, and Tyson Miller drops down a couple of spots. Matthew Lindy grabs second. Long sweeping left-hander, single file they go. Lindy, a small mistake, and Dane Culver takes advantage, pounces for second.
Yeah, it looks like going by Tyson Miller there. He's going to try and make a move on the outside of Lindy, going to the inside there. You can see Dane Culver in the 51 with a great move, but Luke Knupp, he did not waste any time on that start. Oh, big time. We had a truck just go over there. It looks like it hit the arch.
Well, I've seen some big crashes, but never quite as big as that. Poor Brock Smith. I don't think going to take much more part of this race, but as we wind our way towards the final sector, Knupp already breaking away courtesy of all of that chaos behind. There was some great side-by-side passing. What happened here, though?
Yeah, that's just so crazy how it goes. You can see a great dicing there, and there it is. Oh, he just gets a little clip there, gets sideways, and gets thrown right into that truss.
It's so easy to be pushed wide in a small side-by-side battle, and I think something drivers will keep an eye on. Can tell you that Brock Smith has continued to run out there, albeit down in the final spot in this first of 3 heats that we've got in store. Matthew Lindy now slides out wide, and Sean Winkler going to try and pounce this for the final transfer spot to the main event.
Yeah, it looks like Winkler trying to look the inside now on Lindy, trying to make that pass happen there. As we get a great shot, them coming side by side off the rollers. Pop it off, and that's what's so crazy. Lindy, though, he just fills that truck, and oh boy, Winkler, he just went for an outside-inside move and switches it up there. He's going to try and force Lindy a little wide on this one.
It's great racing, a little bit of contact between them. You can get away with it momentarily, but it does cost them some ground, and Mika Lijek in the Racecraft Academy machine going to close his margin up. Remember, now the top 3 surely relatively comfortable, probably not going to end up fighting too hard for the transfer spots they've got in store. The rest of the drivers going to be left to squabble in and amongst themselves, and we jump on board with Winkler. We'll come to the end of the lap. There will be 2 laps complete, 2 still left to go, but they're long laps. He's still got plenty of time to try and find a way past.
And one of the things you see too is you see the green line, folks at home. Matthew Lindy, that position is the last qualifying spot. Winkler is desperately trying to get up there and make a pass on Lindy now.
You can take a look at the left side as well to see where Dane Culver has gained those 3 positions. That's where poor qualifying performance maybe, but immediately took advantage on the start, and Dave put himself in a position where he's broken away, putting some pressure in some ways on your race leader Luke Knupp, and this sets him up very nicely for the 12 laps of main event racing with 18 trucks that we'll get to slightly later on.
Yeah, the crazy thing though is on the start is everything. You got to be on your game. If you're going to make your pass, you make it early, because you can see now as the race starts to develop here, they start to spread out a little bit. You'll get your little groups of battles there. So you want to be out front, and that's what Dane Culver said. All right, there's Luke. Let's get on Luke's tail.
Take a look at both Sean Winkler and Matthew Lindy fighting for that transfer spot. Behind them, a bit of side-by-side between Dennis Mikkelsen and Paul Mikalijek's going to drop those two away from this battle for the final transfer spot. Luke Knupp's going to lead as we see the white flag this time by, but full focus on these drivers trying to fight for a transfer spot. And as Sean Winkler got the front end in the air there for a second, he lost a little bit of momentum, lost a bit of ground, and Matthew Lindy's got a bit more breathing air onto the final lap.
Yeah, white flag is up right now, that's for sure. So Lindy is definitely going to try and keep that distance between him and Winkler for that qualifying position. As you talked about earlier, Luke Knupp, Dane Culver, Tyson Miller, they're fine. They're out front. This is what we're watching right now, the battle between Matthew Lindy and Sean Winkler. Winkler, like you said, lost a little bit of ground, and he's trying to catch up to him again.
Looking at the battle on the bottom corner, you can see Dane Culver makes a bit of contact with the rear end of Luke Knupp, but all, I think, in a bit of vain as he closes the margin in the closing stages. It does really, though, intrigue us, whet the appetite for what lies ahead. Luke Knupp, Connor Barry have shared the victories. Can Dane Culver finally insert himself into the mix, and in fact is going to try and keep things exciting through the final couple of quarters? More exciting than the battle for the transfer spot, in fact, because Sean Winkler's not going to be close enough. Dane Culver just runs out of steam. Luke Knupp will win the first heat of the evening, but Dave, this is what short course and Bark River can deliver.
Oh, absolutely. That was just great watching there. You know, I'll tell you, Dane Culver wanted to show Luke Knupp, you're in trouble.
And a bit of a statement again, that now he'll be waiting and watching from the sidelines. Sometimes what I think is the most frustrating part of sim racing, the fact that even though the races can be fast and frenetic, you still end up waiting for quite a while and letting your adrenaline dump. Ready to go again for the second heat, but let's take a look at the results and just confirm who's making their way on forward. Knupp in the Team Gold Esports car leads Culver, Miller and Lindy through, with Winkler, Mikkelsen, Mikalijek, Crosby and Smith having to fight. Over to the second heat, where once again 9 drivers will line up, and Keaton Swain really was fighting 3 wide at the front of the main event field in our last round at Wild West. What can he do alongside Jacob Rafoss, with Connor Barry, points leader, back in third, alongside Trenton Briley, Zachary Drapkin, Oliver Golding line up just outside of the transfer spots, with Taylor Vandenbush, Jeremy DeWett and then Nathan Matoxin through the 9 machines. Interested to see how Connor Barry does, Dave, with, I think, some pressure on his shoulders. A couple more points have just gone the way of Luke Knupp winning that heat.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little insane. I know these drivers are sitting, okay, what we just saw unfold, we got to try and do that. Connor Barry, though, you know, the point leader, you know, sitting back in that second row, or I should say tied for points possibly right now. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, this is a stacked talent right here. You got Drapkin in there. He's in the points fight too.
How aggressive would you be on the start, knowing how strong the field is? Are you a bit scared that someone may break away? Or counterintuitively to that, would you think that I've got to get the elbows out and make sure I'm the one trying to break away?
Yeah, I think you got to get up there and you got to break away as soon as you can. I mean, like I said earlier, this start is everything. You saw Luke Knupp. He didn't waste on it. He right in that start zone, he got on the loud pedal and made it run. And Dane Culver was right there too with a great reaction time. He was able to fight his way back from what, 4th, 5th is his starting position and into that second slot. That just says it all.
The field begins to slowly roll away, and once again, don't get surprised when the pace truck pulls away and we don't get up to full racing speed until we head back around towards the starting zone. Keaton Swain going to be the one to get the jump. Connor Barry actually has his teammate Jacob Rafoss in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine, of course, to work with. Trenton Briley then has Zachary Drapkin potentially to worry about on the initial jump here. And 4 laps, maybe a bit longer than 4 laps at Wild West, but still not many passing opportunities by any means. We did see Dane Culver willing to be physical, willing to be aggressive, and that helped him get his way up front. How nervous would you be right now if you are someone like Zachary Drapkin, though, sitting on the outside of the bubble? Remember, he's fighting Dane Culver, Dave, who had a very impressive performance in that first heat of the night.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Zach was watching, and it's in his head right now. I got to get up there. I got to establish my qualifying position and be in the fight. I mean, there is no two-way. These guys aren't getting nervous. This is what they do. They're in their office. they're going to work.
I always have to ask because I just remember how nervous I would be in this situation. Away we go, though, as the engines roar, and Jacob Rafos not getting a great start. He's swarmed by Connor Barry, straight through to second, and challenging Keaton Swain. Behind, a little bit of argy-bargy as Trenton Briley gets passed by Zachary Drapkin in that red line or machine. But as they go single file through the long left-hander, Barry behind Swain, it's going to be, I think, a real fight. No one breaking away in the early stages.
Yeah, it was a great move by Swain. Connor Barry was very smart to jump out there. He was in the second row, now up in the second position. A little bit of reminiscent of what Dane Culver had to do there. Jacob Rafos with a great run there. Now, you talked about Trenton Briley and Zach Drapkin. There's going to be the battle. These two are so close in points. And now Trenton is in that qualifying position. So Zach's going to put his head down and go to work.
He's got the pressure, though, from Taylor Vanden Bush behind as they cycle out in towards what is a corner that you set up before you enter the jump. So much of, building speed around these tracks is understanding how to position your car through every little bit. Back towards the line, though, see how wide they run. Lots of confidence on their side. Keaton Swain, Connor Barry, Jacob Rafos, and Trenton Briley. 1, 2, 3, 4, but no breakaways like we saw in the first heat. It's a lot closer between those hunting for transfer spots.
Oh, this is a very good race here. I mean, they're so oh, talk about getting a little crazy there. Was that Vanderbush, I believe?
Yes.
Getting a little sideways there. Again, there you can see a great shot there. Golding is basically on his back bumper, on his back porch, looking to trespass a little bit. Let's see how he's going to back this one into the corner.
Could see as well that some of these drivers very willing to be a bit aggressive with the turn-in. You can get away with cutting some of the corners and the banking on the inside, but some corners need to be a bit more careful. At the very back of the field, Jeremy DeWet rides, but Nathan Matoxin, who's on board we sit with right now, just in front of him, you can see that none of these drivers by any means are totally out of the equation, but very soon we'll get to the halfway mark and 2 laps will be left to go. And I think Taylor Vanden Bush's little moment through the opening corner has slightly put him off the back of Zachary Drapkin.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Only 4 laps, you think. This is a longer course. We had 6 at the other one. It still happens so quickly. I mean, those laps are gone before you know it. And I know Drapkin at this halfway point is going to start thinking this. He's got to turn it up a little bit. Trenton's going to get a little company, I believe.
You can see that Trenton's actually really feeling the pressure now. A full second or so lost to Zachary Drapkin as he puts the pressure on behind, and that red line all 56 car is going to make its move up the inside out of turn number 2, and now on the run in towards the jump. Drapkin will hold his nose and really pressure Briley, all sorts of out of sorts. But Zachary Drapkin backs out of it, doesn't lose too much speed, has to set up for the final lap to really try and make the move happen.
And what I really noticed there is you can see how close Drapkin got to Trenton Briley there. Trenton didn't back off. He wanted to keep his line there, and by holding his line, you can see how it kind of threw him off just a little bit, and Zach had to, basically recollect himself.
Do enjoy as well that, so many of the drivers sending us their webcams. We can take a look at not just 1, but 2 of the battles in this fight for the final transfer. Drapkin really works at the wheel, soars away just a little bit more behind Briley. Final lap, though, about to begin, and Swain, Barry, Rafos have basically been locked in step, have not really made a mistake since Rafos got a little jumped on the initial start behind, battle for the final transfer spot, but only between 2 cars. Vanden Bush's mistake has dropped them out of contention.
Yeah, now it's going to be coming with Drapkin there, Golding, Matoxin, and Witt, not a factor. We'll probably be seeing them in LCQ unless something drastic happens between these 2 drivers, but it looks like Trenton has got his line established there, and now Zach has got to do everything he can. He's got to probably drive a little bit over his head to try and catch up, but you got to stay in control.
It's a bit too far behind, though, as we head over the jump, I think, to really make something happen, unless he's going to really chuck the car in, and I tell you what, gets it turned and slowed down in time as well. Good car control on display, but Keaton Swain looks like he's going to be able to hold off the challenges of Connor Barry. Haven't seen too much passing at the front of the field so far, Dave. We know it's possible, but drivers really being challenged to make these moves stick.
Yeah, I was really surprised that earlier heat we saw with Dane Culver. He was really all over Luke Knupp there. I was expecting more to see that of Connor Barry and Keaton Swain, but Keaton Swain when he's on, he's on. He's on rails right now.
I think he's on that form that's going to see him really make himself known as a bit of a nonsense child in the fight for the championship. Connor Barry holds on to second. Jacob Rafos, now what's happened to him, because he's just dropped out of a transfer spot on the run to the line. Trenton Briley and Zachary Drapkin may just have done enough to move forward. We'll get confirmation of what happened in a handful of moments' time, but in the meantime, let's take a look at the results, take a look at the starting grid for heat number 3. That's confirmation. Jacob Rafos not scored inside of the top 4. Will have to go to an LCQ, along with Vandenbush, Golding, Matoxin, and DeWitt. We've got another 8 trucks locked and loaded, so Nicholas Dashalet and Crystal King make it a factory Simsport 1-2, with Cody Winicki and Cody Retzlaff behind Christopher Plumley in that Plum machine alongside Cody Vanderveer, and then behind final row, it's Cameron McGigic and Brent Smith. Remember, just 8 trucks, 4 to advance. Big drama. I think, Dave, we've really got to try and figure out what happened to Jacob Rafos.
I know. I just saw him. He was up against the wall. I don't know if he slid out and hit the wall or where there was an infraction where one of the stewards got him.
Yeah,
that's not like Jacob, though.
It almost seemed as though it could potentially have been like a hardware failure. You know, in the real world, you sometimes have an engine blow. Sometimes in the world of sim racing, we have brake pedals fail. You asked Max Verstappen about that one back in 2019 in the 24 Hours of Spa. He'll tell you all about that. But yeah, I'm genuinely not really sure what happened to poor Jacob. Let's see, before we get ready to go, though, for the next heat. This is the replay. He just drives into the wall.
Yeah, there's something went on with that car. It's not turning.
Another
had a steering wheel problem.
Yeah, another look at it, and I think the best thing we can try and do is on board. I think his monitor dies or something, and he's unable to see where he's going, and so he gets very scared, and then can see the correction to the right to try and get out of the way. That's heartbreaking, that's frustrating, and now a driver has got to fight his way on forward.
Yeah, that is just so frustrating to happen there. And of course, a driver like him, he's always in the top fighting.
Wow, I'm not lost for words. Again, we've seen that happen in the past. It really means that Zachary Drapkin and Trenton Briley, all of the close fighting that we were talking about, Dave, it was all for moot. They didn't really need to put the pressure onto one another.
No, and it's a good thing they didn't, because, those two, I'll tell you, they know how to rub elbows.
And I think we've seen a healthy dose of respect, but physical racing so far. Drivers getting the instructions to roll away right now for the 3rd and final heat. Remember, 4 more to advance from here. Once we get to the LCQs, expect it to be a little bit more physical, especially given that from there, we whittle it down to just 4 more laps for each of them to fight their way on forward. In this particular heat, though, there's no one really fighting for the championship, Dave, so I think we've got a little bit more openness in terms of who's just here to fight for the win.
They just want to get to the main event. I think you nailed that one. 4 go, 4 don't. And that's going to be interesting. And
so if you are, Plumley, Vanderveer, starting 5th and 6th, maybe you've got to be a little bit wise on this initial start. Don't want to put the pressure on. I mean, you've got 2 teammates up front, though, Dashalet and Crystal King. They'll want to try and work together as pace track off and away. Don't forget, a couple corners to go before we head into the start zone and we get this 3rd and final heat off to the races.
I can tell you one thing, though. Even though you're not in the fight for the championship there, to finish in the top 10 or even the top 5, a lot of these drivers, because the talent level's gotten so high, it's so difficult to get up there. But each year, each driver gets better. We've seen Luke get better. We've seen, Dane Culver is a great example.
And we're just continuing to see talent get stronger and stronger. And much like Keaton Swain, could they become stories in the championship fight? Off and away we go. Dashalet and King trying to work together, but Cody Winicki on the inside trying to also hold off Cody Retzlaff. It's the argy-bargies that you expect through the opening corner, but no one slipping off the track. No change as well through the top 8 as they file through the opening left-hander.
And this is going to be a close one. I think we're going to start seeing some guys leaning on each other, too. You can see we got it 2 wide there. Crystal King in a great position in that 2nd slot there behind Dashalet, when Nicky and Cody Retzlaff, definitely in the battle. But look at Plumley back there. Plum Crazy is coming for you.
Plum crazy indeed, and already they've lost the back of Cody Retzlaff slightly as he gets the elbows out, gets in front of Van der Veer after the move was attempted, and now slipping and sliding behind, just continuing to bleed a little bit of time. There's another one of our drivers in virtual reality. He's not one but two TVs behind him, and he also looks like he's got another sim rig next to him. All I'm going to say is, Dave, that's the coolest sim rig in the world.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got the setup there, Plumley. You know, he's gonna get a little. He's got the Plum Crazy purple on there, so you got to go ahead and throw a little Hemi and Dodge sticker on there too.
And
baby.
I've actually seen, it's not often, but I've seen on occasion drivers compete next to each other in top-level events. I think back to V8 Supercars, Ethan and Dane Warren, who are brothers, used to race from the same room opposite each other. So I'm just saying, Christopher needs to try and get someone to race next to him for the next time we go racing. Maybe not tomorrow, because that would be a short turnaround, but maybe next week. Again, haven't seen a change inside of the top six just yet. Outside of, Brent Smith and McGidgick fighting at the very back of the pack, it's been quite stable so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, nobody's really fighting for anything right now. You can see there's a good little battle going on for third. Back, you can see there, you see Plumley's just past the line there. It's Cody Retzlaff that's trying to go with Cody Winicki right now. I think this is what they're trying to battle for, a better position going into the main event.
I think you got to be careful because Plumley's closing 2 laps to go, this time by riding on board with Cody Retzlaff, and always get slightly uncomfortable seeing just how much the car bucks and broncs, and that's a little bit more contact with Cody Winicki than I think was planned through the final couple of corners. That final sector is really, really tough to just try and nail the line, especially when you're running behind someone else, and then through the opening corner you get the front end of the truck just sitting up in the air. Your eyes are pointed towards the horizon, no idea what's going on until you settle back down on terra firma. I really enjoy this track. I've got to say, I think, Dave, it's my favorite, even more than Crandon, where we go tomorrow.
Oh, no. I mean, Bark River is just a gorgeous place in real life, and also in the sim world. The track is incredible. I mean, it doesn't get better. I mean, in the Midwest has some of the best tracks around. Absolutely.
Tomorrow we are racing the short layout of Crandon, which I guess is a little bit of a change because the season finale, May the 15th, will be on the regular Land Rush start, where we'll be 10 wide on the run down into turn 5 on our initial race starts. That is always filled with mayhem. Going to start the final lap though here. Christopher Plumley, well, he's been really dropped by the front 4 and unchanged so far. Will we see it stay this way on the final lap of this final heat?
It's looking that way right now. Plumley's really off the pace there, and you see the white flag has come out. Winicki really holding some good lines there. Cody Retzlaff, though, he's looking quick. But Winicki just seems to be just about a 1/10 of a second quicker through some sections.
We're slowly seeing the dirt being slung around as well. One thing that iRacing does well, not only, of course, modeling the trucks and the 3D parts, but the way that the surface just continues to evolve. We won't see a track reset when we go racing for either the LCQs or the main event, so just keep that in mind. Drivers and the machines having to adapt as the track continues to evolve, working their way through the jumps. Cody Winicki almost gets the front end pointed down into the ground.
And you can see a lot of the blue groove that will lay down. That's a great section there, but it could also get a little greasy there when you get a lot of that rubber. Believe it or not, rubber lays down on dirt and it starts to get compacted. It can get a little greasy out there, so it's fighting for the line, and as you say, they're not going to reset this. They're going to keep it running.
And Blue Groove was something that I never really heard of until we got to the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series and we got to Bark River, where all the drivers were saying Blue Groove this, Blue Groove that.
Yep.
Nicholas Dachelet is not complaining. He wins seat number 3. Crystal King, his factory SimSport teammate, slots in behind with Cody Winicki, Cody Retzlaff, the rest of the drivers moving their way on forward. And quite surprisingly, in a short course race, while we did see passes, no changes at the end from how they started. Crazy, Dave, crazy.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about drivers that have really started coming up. Crystal King, that young lady is a fast race car driver, and I expect big things out of her.
And I think in some ways she stopped giving so much respect to the rest of the guys and trying to be a little bit more physical. Great to see, and continuing to deliver, and again advances along with Dachelet, Winicki, and Retzlaff. Unfortunately for Christopher Plumley, Cody Van der Veer, Cameron McGidgick, and Brent Smith, some work to do in the LCQs, which you got coming up here next on RaceSpotTV. Don't go anywhere, more action coming from Bark River. It's time to go for the last chance qualifiers here from Bark River in round 6 of the iRacing National Short Course series presented by Next Level Racing. So glad you can join us here on RaceSpotTV on the iRacing Short Course channels, because it is going to be hectic. We've seen some great racing to this point, but we always know LCQ's drivers' final opportunity to make it to the main event, where it tends to get quite interesting. Our Junior Kanki party joined alongside by Voice of Off-Road Dave Arnold. Let's take a look at the starting grid for the first of 2 LCQs, because the drivers are getting ready to go and just waiting for us to let them loose. It's going to be Sean Winkler and Christopher Plumley at the front, Taylor Vandenbush and Paul Mikolajczyk on row 2, and then Cameron McGishik and Nathan Matoxin on row 3. Behind them, it's going to be Brock Smith rolling from 7th, and while 7 drivers will enter, I think we are going to end up seeing plenty of drivers moving on forward as well, and so that means, I think, cool heads, Dave, hoping that we'll see that from the drivers.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always tough because not everybody makes it again, and sometimes you get a little desperate in the season and you want to go bang some doors.
3 drivers officially will make their way forward. Just had to double check that before I spoke incorrectly. We had 4 from each of the heats go through. It's going to be 3 from these LCQs. I think it's going to be quite frenetic, especially given that, Dave, 4-lap heats, 4-lap LCQs as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see that. I mean, LCQs notoriously being a little bit shorter, whether it's in, Supercross or Super Motocross or, any type of racing. You got less time and they take less drivers, so it gets a little bit more tense. I think 4 laps is going to give somebody else a chance.
Helps if I unmute myself. I've definitely never done that on a broadcast before. We'll see the pace truck pull off and away, and field left in control of Winkler, and he won't be allowed to pick up the throttle until we head to the start zone a couple of corners away, so just keep that in mind. We have seen, for the most part though, Dave, race leaders, or start leaders, I guess the proper way to define them, get a really healthy jump. It's the driver in second that often gets a little bit swarmed. I was quite surprised in Heat 3, Crystal King alongside Nicholas Dashley, a teammate, did have Cody Winicki trying to make the move through the opening corner.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Each track has, a good position for starting. It's like when we go to Crandon, you're all lined up, you got the start. Not always that pole position is always the quickest time. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 or 4 because you got a greater shot. Same here, I think, if you're, to the inside or outside, it totally changes how you're going to get the start here at Bark River. Is
the Plum machine going to be aggressive on the start here? Well, Christopher Plumley just sits back a little bit, trying to judge when Sean Winkler is going to pick up the throttle, and away we go, ready for what is 4 laps of madness. 1 LCQ race underway. Tame though through the opening corner. Plumley slides his way into line. Vandenbush and Mikolajczyk squabble for 3rd and 4th. Matoxin and McGishik fighting behind them for 6th and 7th spots, but safely through the opening corner. All trucks make it through.
And you can see the little bit of a jockeying back there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now as they're starting to establish their positions as they get into this run here. The little sweeper right-hander off the jump one more time here. And look at this. Winkler and Plumley starting to walk away just a little bit. Mikolajczyk trying to hold off Vandenbush. And, of course, we see Matoxin. Oh, get a little side raise there. Vandenbush getting a little push there from Matoxin. Matoxin able to take that position.
Teammates who, I will give them their props, by the way, have at least made their trucks look somewhat dissimilar, flip the color scheme so you can pick them apart. Kudos to them. Even the biggest sim teams in the world can't seem to figure that out. But unfortunately, all of that fighting has allowed Mikolajczyk in the Racecraft Academy machine just to open the door, build his advantage, and I do wonder, Winkley, Plumley, Mikolajczyk, as they sit right now, comfortable with 3 laps to go, hopefully don't need to fight it out. Winkler's just got to be fast at the front of the field.
Yeah, it's not going to make a difference right now between Plumley and Winkler. I mean, they're probably going to be next to each other, whether it's inside or outside. But it also goes, of course, on the quickest lap and the last one where they're going to stack them there.
You can see that Plumley's definitely quick. He's making that truck move in ways that Winkler doesn't seem willing to do so. A little bit more hesitant, restrained in the body language of the machine. And can see behind, actually, Paul Mikolajczyk starting to be closed on in. As much as I would love to focus attention at the front, I think Dave, poor Paul is going to have an entire swarm descending on him as we get ready to head off to the final 2 laps.
Yeah, Mikolajczyk right now has got Matoxin moving up on him also. And you can see McGishik also, and then Vandenbush are battling back and forth. You can see their positions swapping there.
I'm a bit surprised that Christopher Plumley's decided to go for the move. He's not hanging back, tried to make things stick, but drops back now slightly as we head on towards the halfway mark of this race. We can take a look at both the fights though, because I think Mika Lijek's got Metoxin now very much focused behind him and trying to make the move happen as we head off through turn 1 once again. Mika Lijek with a huge mistake and gives up the transfer spot.
Yeah, definitely crazy. Now, look at this. Plumley looking to the inside there of Winkler. Leans on him just a little bit. Going to try and set up, try the inside again, trying to block him as they kick it sideways here. And Plumley should try to squeeze him here, but he's going to get pushed. But he's in the perfect position here.
They were both very careful that neither truck ended up in the whatever you call it, guardrail on either side. We saw one truck unfortunately make that mistake, and Christopher Plumley around the outside makes it stick. Shove though from Sean Winkler, who doesn't want to just hang around. It's allowing Nathan Metoxin to close as well, but I think they realized after that mistake from Mika Lijek they could afford to have a little bit of a fight. 1 lap to go this time by. I don't think this is done by any means.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Chris Plumley knows what every other race driver knows. Whether you're going to make it to the dance or not, second place still sucks.
And you can see from this rearward shot just how much of a sideways slip that they put through the machines often. White flag in hand for Barney the flagman. Let's go back in time and we'll try and figure out what happened to poor Paul Mika Lijek. Oh, man.
Well, you can just say his truck was cattywampus there going across, and when he landed, it just sent him to the left.
And this is where you and we were kind of chatting as well, Dave. Being in VR, it's a bit of a helpful benefit, especially in those sorts of aerial situations.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you can look out your window. These drivers in real life, when you're in your hood comes up and you can't see, all you see is sky. You look off to the left, kind of spot, and kind of, you know where you're at. You can tell just a little bit. And at that point, I don't think he had anything else to do. He was not just nose up, he was sideways in the air. And of course, air gets underneath these trucks, and I know iRacing's got to take that into account, where it's going to cause these trucks literally to fly. Sometimes they fly like bricks.
Well, fortunately, flew like bricks to the bottom of the time board here for Paul Mika Lijek. Fun fight at the front, though, between Christopher Plumley and Sean Winkler, two drivers who duke it out in VR, and Sean Winkler's got a smile on the face. I think he enjoyed that one quite a bit. And I think with good reason, makes his way on forward, has a fun fight. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Oh, yeah, it was a great fight, I'll tell you, man. These guys two battled, and that's when you race somebody good and you're battling like that, it's a good feeling.
Take a look at those results. Remember, we still got one more of these races left to come. 3 more drivers to promote to the main event. At unfortunately the end of the day, though, for Vandenbush, for Magijic, for Smith and Mika Lijek, one of the just to trim machines moves on forward. Nathan Metoxin slides his way on through with Sean Winkler and Christopher Plumley. Look at the starting grid, though, for the second of the LCQs, where I think some big names with some work to do. Jacob Rafos, Dennis Mikkelsen, Cody Vanderveer, Oliver Golding, Dennis Crosby, and then Brent Smith in the front of the field. Jeremy DeWitt runs himself 7th at the back and all by himself. And I think a couple of drivers, Oliver Golding, one that you highlighted, Dave, last week, wanting to work his way forward through the field. I'll highlight Jacob Rafos, a bit surprised in many ways to see him here in an LCQ.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go to Jake up there. He's going to be a good runner for this one. This is something that we don't see that often, but I think Oliver Golding's going to be up there battling with him too. He's got a fight on his hand, though, I'll tell you. All these drivers in 3 positions, that's all we're getting.
And we saw in that last LCQ as well that you can put a good fight on between Winkler and Christopher Plumley, and I'm hoping that we sort of see that replicated here. Jacob Rafos going to be in control once again as we pull away and get ready to rumble in his orange machine. There's another orange machine alongside for Dennis Mikkelsen, albeit slightly different asymmetric livery. Quite like the looks of that. One thing that, Dave, I think is really fascinating in the sim racing world is how much, trucks and cars come to life, how much creativity we tend to see from designers in the virtual world.
Well, I mean, not only in the virtual world, in the real world. I mean, this is what you're doing. These are race cars. You personalize it. It's a little bit of your attitude, a little bit of your personality in there.
That's actually true. I forget, we're here on the short course side of things where we have even custom numbers. I, tend to live a little bit more in the endurance side of things where, being honest, Dave, every number looks the same.
Yep.
You look at the World Endurance Championship, it looks like every car is white and red or black and red. Here, at least, we've got some different stuff going on. It's always fun.
Sometimes I don't even have to look at the numbers. You just know the livery they have. You just, you know it. In fact, the one back there, the Loctite one, that's very reminiscent of Jeremy McGrath on Jeremy's there. He's got the Monster Claw on there and the Loctite.
It's
he's running Brian Deegan's number.
It's a blank slate is a car, both in the real and virtual world. Interesting, the choices being made. Two orange machines at the front, and Jacob Verfoss slightly bakes Dennis Mikkelsen there, and there goes the move up the inside from Cody van der Veer, sliding almost 3 wide out of turn number 1. Great jump from your race leader, but now 3 wide behind, 1 truck into the wall, and is a big moment behind for Dennis Crosby, who drops out of contention momentarily.
Yeah, that was a tough one there. I got a little sideways. He avoided the K-rail. That was a good thing there. But it's Jacob Raffis, we talked about him, and this is where he belongs, out front there fighting for it. But Van der Veer and Mikkelsen, Brent Smith in that 4th position, and Oliver Golding back just a little bit. Great shot there of Cody van der Veer. And Tensley's, he's talking a little bit. It's always, these drivers, constant communication back with guys spotting with them.
I was a very chatty driver. I often got told off by my teammates for talking too much. I'm glad to see that some of these drivers are comfortable with the communication. I wonder if he's being told, you've lost the entire left rear body panel on the car. Just keep that in mind. Fight behind. It's going to see Oliver Golding fighting with Brent Smith, who chucks it up the inside in the penultimate corner. You can make it work and cross the nose off and really make the defense impossible. Golding's going to try and come back as they dive down in towards turn number 2, but great fighting, all just outside of the transfer spots.
Yeah, he's got the 99 Forever of Brent Smith there, and HVI on the side of that. The OG Racing, he's battling back and forth with them. Great there, the Holcher Racing. That's part of the Johnny Holcher Racing family.
It's a bit of a lean through that second corner, just trying to get inside.
Well, Brent looking pretty quick there. Oliver Golding trying to figure him out there because, Brent is 1 position off of Mikkelsen, which is the qualifying spot. So to get up there to try even battle with him, he's got to get by Smith. And I tell you, Brent ain't going to let that happen easy.
I wonder, though, Verfoss has cleared off, I think, 1.5 odd seconds at the front of the field as we get ready to hit the halfway mark. Is it effectively for these second and third transfer spots? Does Cody van der Veer actually feel somewhat comfortable with the speed that Dennis Mikkelsen is running? Getting a little bit closer, though, as we wrap back around to the line. That, though, is the race lead. One of the biggest margins that we've seen. Bit of a bobble there for Brent Smith. I might have opened the door for Oliver Golding as well. Jeremy DeWitt at the back of the field, unfortunately, has had some issues, has blown an engine.
Oh, that's a bummer. Coming out there. I know he's out of California, so that hurts my heart.
It's not often that you manage to blow an engine as well. My suspicion is this is going to be an almighty impact. Dennis Crosby in the 22 was slightly further behind. What happens through the final couple of corners here?
Oh, DeWitt. Oh! Big contact there. How that machine's still running, I don't know.
It's clearly being built by... And that shot from Dennis Crosby as well, quite spectacular. I was going to say built by people that have a lot tougher safety standards than myself, but Jeremy DeWitt has brought the truck back down to pit lane, so clearly it wasn't that capable. Brent Smith and Oliver Golding fighting for 4th and 5th, dropped themselves off the back of Mikkelsen and van der Veer. 1 more lap to go, Golding into 4th, but now having to close the margin to try and make their way on forward.
And Golding blew that turn there, allowing Smith to come back and right on the inside of him. And Golding's going to try and answer back and give him a little shove there. This is going to get physical here. And this is a battle for 4th, not even a qualifying spot.
It's amazing. It's great to see. And it frees up Dennis Mikkelsen to try and push. Oliver Golding, well, he's grinding on the berm. He slides his way back onto track. It was great to watch, but not ideal in terms of speed. Fight, though, between 2nd and 3rd. 1 lap left to go.
Yeah, I put the skateboard away. No rail slides.
Oh, that was, I've never seen that before. I've been able to get stuck on curbs in road courses, never done anything quite like that, and I'm going to go and try and replicate that. There's the move, though, from Dennis Mikkelsen. Realizes he's got his opportunity. Handful of corners to go. Fights for 2nd.
I told you he was not done. Van der Veer still battling with him there, but these two were not going to give up quickly. But Raffis, bye-bye.
Bye indeed, and a driver in many ways that I think we're shocked to see in an LCQ, but that second heat was so stacked and so loaded, someone was going to have to fight their way forward. Jacob Verfoss will do so, and in some style as well. Margin of victory more than 4 full seconds. advances along with Cody van der Veer with Dennis Mikkelsen. We'll say goodbye to the rest, and now we know the 18 trucks locked in for the main event.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brent Smith, Golding, Crosby, and of course DeWitt, we saw earlier, are out. So Mikkelsen, van der Veer, and Raffis are going to be going to the dance.
Some great fighting at the back. Again, great to watch. Maybe not so great in terms of times, and it seems as though there was some afters there. Checkered flag already having waved for those across the line. Still just waiting, though, for Dennis Crosby, final machine, for the results to be official. Race control will just quickly do the job of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure that no race control decisions involve Raffis, van der Veer or Mikkelsen, and confirm that, unfortunately for Brent Smith, for Oliver Golding, Dennis Crosby and Jeremy DeWitt, it is the end of the line here in round 7 of the championship. Still got, though, the main event to come. Drivers get a couple of moments to, well, in the case of those who fought their way from the LCQs, breathe, relax. For those that managed to advance from a heat race, starting to get themselves back into the rhythm, back up to speed. Don't go anywhere here on RaceSpotTV. Main event action coming up next. Well, it's time to go in the rolling hills of Michigan for the main event. 18 laps of pure thrills here at Bark River International Raceway. Drivers just finishing up their brief warm-up session and getting locked and loaded to head down trackside. So glad you can join us here on RaceSpotTV on the iRacing short course channels as we get ready to go. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside by the voice of off-road, Dave Arnold. And Dave, I've got to say, those LCQs, they really did whet the appetite. Some great racing after the heats, well, hot and cold. Some great racing, some not so exciting action as well. I think we're in for a real treat, especially knowing how the championship hangs in the balance.
Well, if any indication of what happened last week in the main event, it's going to be a great race. I really think we're going to see the cream rise to the crop. The top one more time, sure, but LCQ's got a little exciting. We're going to see how they all shake out here, I should say. But I'm going to keep an eye out there because I'll tell you, Luke Knupp, Keaton Swain, Connor Barry, there's going to be a battle.
let's talk about points and how they're all accumulated, because already qualifying, heat races, that's all done and dusted. We're talking now about just 50 points for the main event winner, a singular point for fastest lap, and the driver that leads at the halfway mark gets an additional point as well. Competition caution, end of lap 5. Any drivers 1 lap down, so any drivers that get tangled up on that race start do get their opportunity to jump back onto the lead lap at that chance. And from there, it's green to the end. Ready to go, though, for the main event. It's what we've all been building up for. Let's take a look at how they'll line up for what lies ahead. And, well, after sitting on the sidelines and waiting, Trenton Briley, Tyson Miller going to line up at the front. They'll have Crystal King and then Connor Barry behind, with Dane Culver and then Nicholas Dachelet, 5th and 6th positions. Keaton Swain, Luke Knupp, 7th and 8th, and Knupp having some work to do to fight his way back to the front of the field. And then you get to the drivers of Coney Winicki and Matthew Lindy routing out the top 10. Zachary Drapkin, Cody Retzlaff, 11th and 12th positions, with Christopher Plumley, Jacob Rafoss, Sean Winkler, Cody Vanderveer, Nathan Matoxin, and Dennis Mikkelsen. The 6 drivers that advance from the LCQs lining up at the back. Bit of a shock in terms of the grid order for the main event, but I think, Dave, it just really sets up even more excitement as we get ready to go.
Yeah, this is a little bit different. We'd have what we call inversions, and that's what we saw right here. Of course, Luke Knupp took that first heat win, and he's back there with Keaton Swain, who won the second heat race. Well, normally we pull like a ping pong ball that tells you, what the inversion is. Of course, I'm sure this is done randomly here, and you can see it's shaking it up. 4 rows deep are 2 heat winners. It's going to be interesting.
iRacing requires that to be set before the session goes up, but I have done some events where, Dave, we do the randomizer on air. I built a spinny wheel, which doesn't pay out prizes, unfortunately. It just tells you where the invert is. But then you have to set up a new session. It takes some time. I like this approach. It adds a little bit more spice. For Trenton Briley, Tyson Miller, I think what I will say is it's 2 drivers who now lead, but 2 drivers who may not actually be out of position. They were both fast and flying in qualifying and in their heats.
Well, don't forget about Crystal King, too, taking second in her race. She's pretty quick, and, of course, you get out in front, and it's your lines. Everybody's got to get around you. You hold your lines. If you got the fast ones, you're going to stay in front of them.
Remember, the pace track off and away. We don't go racing just yet. What I will say is we're just racing through the restart zone. So this is where, after the competition caution, we'll get ready to go racing once again. It's just a little bit more of a hold, though, at the front of the field for Trenton Briley, for Tyson Miller, to get us racing once again. It's round 7 of the iRacing Short Course 2024 National Series. It's a double header this week, racing once again tomorrow, and plenty of points to be handed out. It's going to be full throttle action in the rolling hills of Michigan, underway at Bark River, and Trenton Briley a great start. Crystal King follows through, and we've already got trucks on top of one another. Connor Barry all the way out, and the championship leader going to drop to the very back. He's going to be saved by the competition caution. There was another truck that was sideways. Plenty of drama on this first race start.
And we got more contact in the back of the pack there. And of course, this was a little crazy start for sure. Look at them. Inches away from each other, some leaning at each other. Fiberglass already starting to fly. And I just took a truck to the face on that camera.
Oh, poor Matthew Lindy, I think, was the truck that ended up in the camera. And it's probably a remote camera out there. Thankfully, not someone that needed a human operator. Briley, King, Miller, 1, 2, and 3. Only one small switch around there, and more chaos, and it involves Barry down the very back. This is the round that he was fearing he may have. Let's not forget, coming into this one, Luke Knupp has already used his 2 drop rounds in the championship, Dave. Connor Barry has had a pretty stable ride so far, and he's going to bring his truck down to pit lane to get it repaired ahead of the competition caution.
And I'm seeing Dane Culver really deep in the field. Plumley, there's Ratzliff, of course, Drapkin, Raffis. But Luke Knupp still sitting in 5th position, Keaton Swain right in front of him. I've been waiting for Keaton Swain to heat up, and this track, he's always been fast out. Connor, he knows how to win here, but he hasn't been as consistent winning at Bark River.
See what he can do again. Remember, he will have a chance to gather back up and go, but we'll be at the very back of the field. Matthew Lindy does seem to be the only confirmed DNF of the day. I think that's kind of what happens when you end up pointed in the wrong direction. There comes the shot of Jacob Rafoss, though. Further up, you've got some moves being made. He's got some fiberglass on the inside being thrown around his car. Luke Knupp trying to make the move. This for 6th position Luke's not really been able to really make some big moves at the start of this race.
Well, it looks like he's making a move right now. And Rafis right now, as he moves to the inside, takes that position. Now his eyes are set on Winicki, and he's got him right in front of him there. But Keaton Swain, I'm not sure how that happened there. It's kind of crazy.
iRacing's gods sometimes smile, and you just take what they give you. Let's go back and just jump to the race start, by the way. Not with what happened to Connor Barry. Let's just first check out, poor Matthew Lindy. Cattywampus once, and then bullied on the outside and sent directly into the wall.
Yeah, that was not a good one for him. You can see the damage to the vehicle, and he knows he's pretty much out of it at this point. You know, it looks like Connor Barry's already got a position back now.
So what happened to him here on the race start? He was 3 wide on the outside, and 1, 2, 3 bits of contact, gets sent out wide and does an impressive job to Dave avoid that being an even more calamitous affair.
Yeah, it looks like he was getting for that donut in the Daytona infield there for a second. Not something we see Connor.
Yeah, never a good feeling when you're pointed in a direction that you don't want to go either. You say he's made a position up. Sean Winkler, I think, also coming down pit lane. We'll have the competition caution, not the end of the next lap. Remember, it'll be at the end of lap number 5. So he's just sitting there and waiting, and I think we're going to see him be quite aggressive on the restart to make some moves. Live championship points, Dave. Now, this, of course, does factor in the drop points as far as we can tell. Because Connor Barry has, again, this will be effectively his drop round. He still effectively has a margin, and crazily would open that margin up if you could believe it.
Yeah, I think they wait. Usually in real life, we wait to the last round before we do the drop rounds so they can figure the points. Because, you know, if that last round and you haven't dropped any rounds yet, you drop that one if it's your lowest score.
I think the way that we do it is the last round can't be dropped, so it'll make our life in the booth a little bit easier, so we don't have to be trying to do algebra and calculus and get a PhD to figure it all out. Tyson Miller feels the pressure from Keaton Swain and that 21 machine, the sim coach's truck, just now one way then the other, looking inside and out, and I'm not quite sure what's on the rear end of that number 90, but it's not going to dissuade Keaton Swain from trying to make the move happen.
Yeah, I got to tell you, those graphics look pretty sick when you see them up close, how good they are. Trying to see it.
There's a shark or something. There's like a robot. We'll hopefully get the chance to ask Tyson Miller if he stays.
It's a robot sharktopus.
There you go. If he stays on the podium spots, Dave will have to ask him. That's his incentive to hold on here.
Yeah, you got to get there because now I got to know. Inquiring minds need to know.
The viewers must be told. Off of turn 1, once again, the front end just jumping up into the air. Competition caution this time by. The field will be frozen and backed on up. So remember, Connor Barry 16th, 25 seconds off the lead, will suddenly end up right at the tail end of the pack.
And what I mentioned Crystal King, I mean, she is looking fast right there. Look at the gap back to Tyson. Tyson, you know, probably getting a little slowed down, trying to change the lines up to keep Keaton Swain showing him a little daylight to make a pass.
Yeah, and I think Crystal King recognizing that right now, starting second on the restart, going to be a very comfortable position to push the factory SimSport machine. Well, the Trenton Briley does seem as though he's got the race lead locked down for the time being. Luke Knupp sliding his way on forward. Handful of corners to go before the competition caution comes out. We'll see the start-finish line around the sequence of left-handers building up. He's just managed to pass Cody Winicki. One more pass before the field gets frozen, and an important pass as well. He's gone from 8th to 5th, trying to get every single point that he can. But as the field slows itself down, Rafoss slides past Winicki as well. It's Trenton Briley, your leader here at Bark River.
Yeah, one of the crazy things you got to think, we're going to be doing a single file start this time instead of side-by-side. So, of course, now when they get started, it's going to be up to Trenton Briley to get him going. Then at that point, you know, the driver is going to break outside. They can't leave the line until the start, until the green flag drops or until Trenton gets on the gas. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and bring him. It looks like Connor Barry went back into the pits. They're going to, looks like we talked about that a little earlier. We're going to allow time for him to come up and tag the back of the field.
And, well, if there is a little bit more damage still on that machine, might not be a bad idea to get it fixed up before you get thrown back out onto the track. I've got to say, the pit crew don't look like they're doing much. If you're wondering, the pit crew only animated on iRacing on the ovals. The pit crew here, at least dirt oval, dirt road, and road course side of things, don't get paid enough, Dave, to work hard.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's something I'm not complaining about. My poor frame rate. If we had all those crew members actually working, we'd be having about 5 frames a second. It would be like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. Yeah, I got confirmation that they're not dropping they can't drop the last round, but that's what I do believe the decisions made and what races were dropped. Usually it's the lowest scored races.
Yes.
Or races you not attended.
Lowest 2 races of the total, so either, like you say, not attended. In the case of Luke Knupp, he's already missed 2 races, so that's where his drop rounds are going to come from, and that's where the points take that swing as well. Just waiting for race control to take a look at a few things as well. It is good to have live race control here in the iRacing Short Course National Series presented by Next Level Racing, because this is a physical sort of racing, but it doesn't mean you can get away with, well, murder. You've got to make sure that you make your passes in a fair and in a way that race control is going to smile about.
The way I've been around this for so many years, and it's door-to-door contact's okay. A little bump from the rear, that's okay. It's when you change the attitude of the vehicle in front of you to gain position, not okay.
I like that. And it's actually, to be fair, a rule that carries forward across all disciplines of racing, if we're being honest, whether it's dirt or, asphalt, oval or road. If the other driver is forced to make avoiding action for you, you've probably been a bit too aggressive.
Yeah. But then again, these are also designed for the fiberglass to be replaced and thrown off easily. So this is something that's very common. We call those in the off-road world or short course souvenirs.
Ooh, does that mean that the public can buy them?
Oh, buy them. They give them away. I've got a hood and a door in my garage.
I've had to pay a decent amount for the IndyCar spare parts that I bought. You're just telling me I can go and steal them from the track. Short course is for me. Remember, we restart right around here. Fielding control of Trenton Briley, and you can see behind him, stacked up, Tyson Miller didn't want to wait. Almost gets sideways. Keaton Swain will take advantage. Fire his 21 Simcoaster's machine up the inside. Luke Knupp will try and follow. That's what a restart will do. Side by side behind. Miller now watching as Jacob Rafoss tries to make the move as well.
Yeah, Tyson Miller, I don't know if that was an early start there. He broke out pretty early from the line. We'll have to wait and see what the call is on that for sure.
I think at the end of the day, he was the one that lost out the most from it. Does enable, though, Briley and King a little bit more comfort. Remember, 6 laps complete, some fiberglass going flying. I think all, as Jacob Rafoss, Cody Winicki going to be battling off of turns 3 and 4. Nice, tidy restart. It was to get the action back underway. Did get word from Connor Barry, though, Dave. His truck, even with 2 trips down pit lane, still dealing with some damage.
Oh, that sucks. Well, I can tell you, Crystal King's probably not too happy that Tyson Miller did that, because keeping Tyson Miller in between her and Keaton Swain, that's kind of what you want. And here comes Luke Knupp. Now look at this. Rafis now leaning on Miller, making a little rub pass there.
And I think the entire front hood of Winicki's truck has gone missing. It shows how much aggression that we have seen. Josh Edmondson's let us know, by the way, that Tyson Miller, the Terminator, is nickname, and so that's what we see on the side of his truck. That is an intimidating sight. If Arnold Schwarzenegger told me you shall not pass, I would probably listen to him. Briley from King from Knupp, 1, 2, 3, and Knupp in a bit of a must-win situation with the drop rounds how they are, and his splash and go machine trying to make a splash now at the front of the field.
Well, you know what Tyson Miller would say? I'll be back.
Oh, that's a good one.
Well, get to the chopper.
Oh, get to the truck.
Get to the truck, yeah.
Keaton Swain being passed by Luke Knupp. But this is where I was talking about Swain, not fighting for the championship, still being able to play his part in the story as King looks to the inside of Briley, Swain to the inside of Knupp. It's almost 2 by 2 at the front of the field. Connor Barry has made no moves happen, has lost ground on the rest of the field as well. This, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to end up being his drop round.
And also Dane Culver, look at him down a lap there too. He was in the points run for, so we got to keep an eye on that one too, for sure. That might be a drop one for himself. But going back up to the battles we're watching right now, the 23 of Dash Chalet getting by Drapkin, making a nice pass there as he looks like he lost a little fiberglass there too.
And that red line all machine gets a little bit more of contact from Winicki than I thought he was expecting, but holds on to the car, saves it quite well. Knupp, by the way, working forward to a third on track as brought the point situation, we believe, down to what would be 8 points. That's a big swing. Dane Culver, you'll see as well, even though he's down in 17th, he's got some drop rounds to spare, so he will still hold an advantage. It's Keaton Swain that's jumped in front of Drapkin's Redline All Machine to 4th in the point. There's still so much left to play for, and we're racing again tomorrow, Dave. It's going to be great.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is really setting the tone for what's going on tomorrow. Guys are going to be looking for either retribution or a little payback, too, on a few of them. I know Tyson Miller, after sitting up there, he got, made a mistake. He's going to be looking to better himself once again. And, of course, Connor Barry, going to use this probably as a throwaway, but definitely looking for redemption tomorrow.
Luke Knupp gets served a little bit out wide by Keaton Swain's Factory Simsport machine, sliding back and forth through the double hairpins that lead you into the final sector. Luke Knupp back up the inside. It's great racing. I've got to say, both machines just leaving each other just enough room and none more. It's allowing Briley and King, though, to run unfettered at the front. It's 3 laps to go this time by, and I do think that Team Gold machine, comfortable, confident, and looking assured in control.
Oh yeah, Trenton Briley, he's in the zone right now. That's all I can say. So is Crystal King, but she's still got to stay on her toes there. Luke Knupp. Luckily, Luke has Keaton Swain to worry about there, so that could be a factor at the last couple laps here.
Retzlaff and Van der Veer battle of the Codys for 11th and 12th position, but just remember one thing, we've only ever had 10 different winners in the iRacing short course national series. Across of some 70 odd races, 10 different winners. Right now, 2 drivers at the front trying to grab their very first, and what a special win it would be for the both of them to hold off 2 of the strongest drivers behind who are fighting for a championship. They're not really leaning on one another though. Tyson Miller, the Terminator, under more pressure. Young Jacob Rafos trying to make him blink.
Yeah, Rafos definitely leaning on him for sure. They're letting him know he's there. Tyson, you can see right now he's going door to door there, and it was getting a little close. I thought he might almost spin him, but he was able to push the throttle down, get next to him there. And look at this, outside in, inside out, outside in. He's really playing with Tyson. Tyson keeps on turning into him, going, okay, maybe I can just kind of slow him down by friction.
How often do you get to see action like that, side by side for several corners, and with body parts dangling and seemingly being held on by the slimmest of margins? It is going to be Rafos up the inside. The Nitro Circus Sim Racing machine will make the move stick, and now Dashalet in his 23 machine going to follow through. One mistake being pushed out wide there, 2 positions lost momentarily. Terminator fights back, front of the field, 1.5 laps to go. Crystal King in an opportunity to fight for her first race victory, trying to rip away a first race win from Trenton Briley as they battle Luke Knupp sitting directly behind.
And speaking of battling, Crystal King, she's going, oh, I want this win. She's up the inside, side by side off the jump. Briley, she'll have the inside line coming, but it's going to go in this right-hander, which Briley will have it, so she might have to stay wide there. I thought she might tap the brakes, but Luke Knupp's going to come right up the inside. That's what I was afraid of. Don't leave that inside open.
We've seen a finish here, separated by 0.02 of a second at the line. That's a little bit wide for Crystal King. Drops down behind Keaton Swain. That's the mistake that has maybe allowed Luke Knupp the chance to fight for the win. Has it given Trenton Briley the margin, the 0.6 or so that he needs to hold on to his first race victory? 1 more lap to go here at Bark River.
Yeah, they look like their pace is about the same. Watching those times, it clips down into 0.4 of a second, or 0.4 of a second, up to 0.5. Back to 4. It's right. It's staying right there. He hasn't really gained on him there. Now the question is, can Keaton Swain get back up there and start pressuring Knupp on the last lap here?
Remember, inverted top 8 after how they finished up in the heats. Knupp's had to fight his way forward. Hasn't had it all easy. You can see him getting a little cattywampus momentarily. It's Keaton Swain, the driver, that slips up a little bit more. We've got a couple more corners to go. All Trenton Briley's thinking right now, let me keep my car placed exactly where it needs to be, and a first race victory could be headed in my direction. Behind is a championship mindset from Luke Knupp. Is he thinking, I've got to grab the victory? Is he thinking, I just need to make sure I get points onto the board? The Team Gold machine's going to slide its way through the final couple of corners, and a first race win for Trenton Briley in the iRacing National Short Course Series. A punch of the fist and history made. Team Gold and Briley on top.
We just added another winner to the list here. That's so great. Luke Knupp with a great one, but I got to give hands down, Crystal King, even though she finished in the 5th position, a great run for her. And Jacob Raffis, fighting his way back. And Keaton Swain, always solid.
An impressive showing from the drivers, especially knowing what was on the line. Connor Barry slides across in 15th. He might be a bit frustrated, but remember, came into this knowing drop rounds were in play, and he had a bit of a margin to work with. While we just wait for everyone to cross the line, still waiting for Christopher Plumley to nurse his car across, let's take a look at the provisional championship standings, because tomorrow we go racing from Crandon's short course. You'll want to make sure you're around for that, and this is how close it is between Connor Barry and Luke Knupp. Dave, 3 rounds left to go, and still only 8 points, effectively 4 positions between the two drivers.
And it definitely is going to come down tomorrow night. This is going to change quickly. Here it could, or it couldn't. But Dane Culver having a bad round, Connor having a bad round. Will they fight back tomorrow night? It's going to be the big question.
Crandon short being a bit different than Crandon long on the initial start, not having the land rush. I think that's going to make things quite intriguing as to the aggression levels that we'll see as well.
We still have the land rush in the short.
Oh, do we?
Don't do the whole track. Yes.
Ah, okay.
That is what Crandon is famous for.
The only reason I thought that is because I promise you, Dave, the last time I did Crandon short, which was a long time ago, I do promise you that, on iRacing we had, unfortunately, a safety car start. And I was not I wasn't very much a fan of that, and so I'm glad.
No.
Glad to hear that we'll be doing it properly.
Yeah, it's where we've always done it in the past, so hoping we stay with it.
Just waiting for Trenton Briley to come and chat with us because, well, the joy of a first-time race winner is something to behold, and, well, very excited to hear that emotion right now. Dave Arnold standing by with the race winner, Trenton Briley.
Trent Briley, what an incredible comeback in this race. I got to say, you had that pole position with the inversion, but the heat you were feeling, Crystal King most of the race, and Tyson Miller battling back there.
Yeah, man. Coming into tonight, I did not expect that. Starting on the pole to start the race was our best shot at it, and I knew what I needed to do to hold it down, and that was get a good start. And I knew they'd be fighting hard behind me. But as the track wore in and the race gets into the latter end of it, just gets hard to hang on to these things, and you definitely start feeling the pressure watching the relative. So I started going into protection mode, and I think that's how Crystal got up to me, and then saw my teammate Luke Knupp was right there sitting in third, and I knew he was going to be there going for that second spot, so I knew I had a little bit of a cushion and a little bit of help. So man, it's been a long time coming. I've been doing this iRacing stuff for the better part of 4 or 5 years now. Been a part of the Off-Road World Championship, and got some poles and some podiums, but this is, believe it or not, my first win, so I couldn't be more happy.
Yeah, you've stayed in the other positions for sure, but it's going to say congratulations. But the big question, what was the feeling on that restart? What was going through your mind?
Oh man, I knew some of the faster guys had got through the field. I just knew I needed to get another good start and just keep hitting my marks like I was, avoid the slowdowns, avoid hitting these berms, because man, Bark River is by far the hardest circuit that these trucks race on, in my opinion, and I've struggled with it over the years, but we pieced it all together and we got it done, Dave.
Well, I got to say congratulations. I'm stoked for you on that. It was an incredible race there, and looking forward to what you're going to do tomorrow. See if you could back it up. And I know you probably got some people you want to thank for this win.
Yes, sir. Excited for tomorrow. We missed a couple events this year based off because of real life obligations, but we're gonna try to turn this thing around for the latter half of the season, make up some points. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and I got to give hats off to the whole Team Gold Esports, as well as Refined Motorsports with Tyler Shadduck, Luke Knupp, Joel Blewett, Dad Countryman, everybody that puts in time and works on these setups, man. I don't have as much time to dedicate to iRacing as I did in the past, so this win is dedicated to the guys behind me.
There he is, Trenton Briley, getting that win checked off his list.
And we can now catch up with Luke Knupp, who came into this round, I think, in some ways, feeling confident in the speed. But Luke, talk me through your feeling in that main event, having to work your way forward from the back of the invert and really fighting your way quite physically, and then making sure you got as many points as I think was realistically possible at the end of those 12 laps of action.
Yeah, that was an insane race for sure. Insane night for sure. We put a lot of work into qualifying because we've been struggling there all year, and it showed. We qualified first by a 10th, and then really just put my head down in the race. I knew we had the best setup in the race, but I just had to make smart moves and got up to 5th at the caution and just kept clicking passes off, and me and Keaton battled and then saw the opening for 2nd and had to take it. It's so hard to pass here, so when there's just the slightest opportunity, you really got to go for it. And then was right behind my teammate Trent, and then just couldn't ask for a better night, really.
Talk to us a little bit about the Blue Groove, because we were talking about it a bit today. You know, the way the track evolves, the rubber gets laid down on the dirt itself. How much were you feeling that by the end? How much was the track itself different from how you qualified at the start?
It was actually faster, which is weird because usually when it's Blue Groove, you're losing traction. But it gripped up, and we really focused on end of race. After last week, it was so tight, and so we really just had to focus on end of race and take the penalty at the beginning of the race, and we were just fast all night. So can't thank Tyler Shattuck for all the help on the setup, and everyone else just for putting in time and effort. It really showed. But
the Team Gold 1 and 2, congratulations, Luke, on grabbing some valuable championship points, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night in the doubleheader here in iRacing Short Course National Competition.
Yeah, for sure. Just want to thank Splash and Go Graphics and Impact Racer and the whole Team Gold squad, everyone who puts in time. Couldn't do it without them.
And Luke had a great fight with Keaton Swain throughout the course of that main event. Keaton standing by now with Dave Arnold.
Keaton Swain, I'll tell you, man, you're not disappointing watching your race out there. It's always entertaining. But let's talk a little bit about your race here. You were a little bit deeper in the field, and you were right next to Luke Knupp. And what was going through your mind as you had to fight your way through the pack?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a challenge there with the invert. I think it was 8, so it got sent a couple rows back, and I knew it was going to be a long race though, so I just wanted to be patient and let the hopefully get some guys make mistakes and get some spots, and got up to 4th there at the mandatory, and just kind of riding along, got a couple spots on the restart as well, and yeah, I don't know, just made a couple too many mistakes in the turn after the whip section and allowed Luke to get by me, and then but we'll take a 3rd. It's definitely good for the points.
Now, Luke had mentioned in his interview that the track actually got a little bit faster, because usually with the Blue Groove, it gets a little slick, a little snotty out there. Well, looked like the track was pretty quick.
Yeah, the track was definitely fast. Park River on the sim definitely has the most unique dirt. Tends to seem to do it whatever it wants to. So it's a real challenge for driving and getting a good setup to go around there. But, overall it was a good race. I got to give a huge shout out there to Crystal. She put up a heck of a fight. I think she might have just showed her hand 1 lap too early there, but overall I think it was a good night for her as well.
It's incredible how just one little tiny mistake can change the whole effect of the race. And we saw it happen there, but your battle back and forth with Luke was pretty epic, but getting up there with Crystal and getting that final position really showed, the tenacity.
Yeah, I knew as with the laps winding down there, and all of us were kind of in a line. I knew if someone showed their hand there, try to make a move, that you got to be able to pounce on it. Unfortunately, it was my teammate Crystal, so unfortunate for her, but it moved us into a podium spot. So I guess it's better than neither of us making it up on the podium here. So we'll take it, but overall, it's a good night.
Well, last question. Thoughts going in tomorrow night? Crandon Short, totally different track. What's your mindset?
Yeah, we'll just hopefully we can have a good clean land rush there. Anything can happen on that. It's not one of my best tracks. I'm better at the full layout, but we'll probably get on a little bit early tomorrow to try to get some laps in, and we'll see how it shakes out there.
Well, of course, Keaton, there's so many people behind you that make this possible.
Yeah, I got to thank Sim Coaches. He always has me dialed with my pedals. Everyone at Factory Sim Sport that helps out, gets us going faster. And, of course, everyone that helps out Connor's League, all his sponsors, and, of course, you guys for making us look good out there on the track.
Right on. Keaton Swain, 3rd place, Factory Sim Sport. See what he's going to do tomorrow, if he's going to change it up.
I gotta say, we can only do so much to make these guys and gals look good.
Yeah.
They do the talking with the action out on track. And Dave, We're back tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. I'm now even more excited since you told me that we're going back to the Crandon short layout with the Land Rush start. But one thing that I think is quite important just to remember is after that, we've got 2 weeks, 2 events left to go. One being a Triple Crown event and one being at the season finale, regular points at Crandon. It's still looking very close. Let's look at the provisional points right now, and I've been told to call them provisional because Race Control still got some looking through to do of some various different bits, so this could still change, but not just for first and second, for third, fourth, and fifth, for sixth and seventh, eighth and ninth. There's plenty for these drivers, like you were mentioning, up and down through the championship, still to be focusing on.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. There's still a lot of changes could happen. Like Trenton Briley said, he's got some time to make it up with 199 points. 209 is not that far away with Drapkin, or even 215 with Keaton Swain. Could be done.
It could be done, but it would take crazy things, I think, to happen. What we did see today, though, was the streak come to an end. No longer have there been 2 dominant forces in the iRacing Short Course National Series, because no longer is it just Luke Knupp and Connor Barry trading victories back and forth. Trenton Briley's joined the fun. We'll be back tomorrow night, Crandon Raceway, Wildhorse, and then Crandon again to close things out, but that is all still left to come. Thank you so much for joining us once again here on RaceSpotTV. Some great racing in these jumpy trucks in the iRacing Short Course National Series presented by Next Level Racing. For our team behind the scenes, for the great team at Race Control, and for Dave Arnold alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for your company. We'll see you here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It will be a rip-roaring affair. Can't wait to see you then. Until then, so long and goodbye.